Well, this is a good depiction of silver holders. Silver holders are hanging on by a thread, basically. But, the thing is, when you invest in something, you have to have it with the eye that you do not need this cash money that you invested in right away, and things can take longer than you expect. Obviously, that's the case. But the other thing that was not obvious is just how things have been playing out in the commodities markets. In the commodities markets, there's a real indication as to what the real economy is. And I have talked about this before. We're going to have to say it real briefly, though. In other words, there's been the too bigs to fail have actually received most of their money, on the top, and they have not. That money has not been reinvested into the economy. It has not seen. There's been no wage inflation going on, whereby consumers had more money to spend and caused the consumer price index to go up. But there has been asset inflation, whereby you're talking about the stocks and the equities, because the stocks and equities have far exceeded the inflation rate, the true inflation rate, and the GDP growth rate, which is not historically whatever happened. In other words, the stock prices stay within 3% of the inflation rate and the GDP rate throughout its whole history, except since its last recovery, because the too bigs to fail have been getting the money. So, actually, what you really got to do, though, is be patient. Like old girl here on a motorcycle, you're gonna have to. I know it's been a long ride and a long wait, but whenever you invest in something, it's something. And, it's tried my patience too. Okay, obviously, I'm not like saying, "Oh, I love this stuff going down," and I'll just back up the truck. I don't do that kind of strategy. It's just like I have a multifaceted strategy, and you can see what that is on his channel more or less, because I don't strictly talk about silver. I also talk a lot about health, and also want to mention this right now. I should be getting that spooky True Rife plasma machine today, and I will be doing an update as soon as possible on that. That, I think, is a major breakthrough in health. In other words, health is number one, wealth is number two, and that type of thing. Maybe that's not quite the perfect order, but I should talk about something else, spirituality. Now, I know a lot of people probably think, maybe I should have invested in a motorcycle instead of silver. And maybe that's true in the short term, but there's going to be an inverse relationship. Probably, you're not going to see any graphs on this, but there's going to be an inverse relationship between classic cars and motorcycles and the price of silver, because a lot of the too bigs to fail have not necessarily invested in choppers, but they have invested in classic cars, the high-end ones, besides artwork, jewelry, paintings, prime real estate. Now, I'm talking prime real estate, not average real estate, mom and pops type stuff. They buy it, quarter acre, half acre, an acre someplace, but like ranches and things like that, farmland. And they have invested in gold and silver, too, but that's not where the majority of their money went to. But in the future, you might find that a lot of these things that are classics in motorcycles and cars are going to be greatly depressed in value, because there's, I swear, this type of stuff is about as erratic in price as commodities. And when the commodities go up, there's going to be a lot of true inflation out there, and people are not going to really give a damn about holding on to some. Most people are not going to give a damn about holding on to classic cars and motorcycles. You might find that's a good thing to buy at that time. Believe it or not, you say, what do you keep fiat? Now, you might be missing this guy. I know everybody hated George Herbert Walker Bush. Now, I think he was in a different league than his sons, and I know I put some very politically incorrect stuff out on this channel sometimes, and I dropped a dime on this guy. And I can't do that all the time, because YouTube, I guess they find it's not monetary, what do you call that, commercial friendly or something, or whatever it is, so they don't monetize those things. So, I can't be telling you the whole truth, because I got reams of paper information, boxes and boxes of it, way before the internet's been around, on all kinds of stuff. You wouldn't believe it. Newspaper articles from good researchers. I wish I could put a lot of that stuff out on here, but I don't think I can. because I was testing the waters on my last video. I don't think they liked that one too much, but I was being honest, man. I was being honest. There's there's an evil empire behind the government, so that's the way it is, man. And JFK was the good guy, so I'm trying to tell you the truth. So, I can't tell the whole damn truth. That's the problem. I can't. I can do the best I can, so got to stay within those, whatever it is. Now, Alex Jones will tell you, I'm just kind of sidetracking here. I think that guy is seriously a disinformation guy, but a lot of people get mad. I don't know. He's got some stuff that's good, though. We'll see. But anyway, in the meantime, just chill out on this stuff. Do not freaking get all bent out of shape looking at the price of this and that. And I'll tell you that one of the big indications that, besides the Baltic, just chill out because, if you invest in these type of metals and you got physical metals and stuff, don't go keep looking at the price every freaking day. That's one of the worst things you could do. I know maybe you're looking at this video right now because you probably are looking at the price every day. But just chill out, and I'm going to tell you some other things, though, that are coming up. But, I talked about the Baltic Dry Index being the worst it's ever been. The Baltic Dry Index is, I'm going to tell you some more, though, than that. But I have to rehash a couple of these things. The Baltic Dry Index has been the worst it's ever been. Since they've been keeping records on that, that's the shipment of goods and commodities on shipping throughout the world, which is a fairly good indication of what's going on as far as trade and economic activity. The other thing is Dr. Copper is now below $2 a pound. I'm like, whoa, holy, remember when it was like over 5 or something, or around 5? That's ridiculous. What the hell's going on here? So, well, it's telling you what's going on. What's going on is the economy really does suck. It's like there's been asset price inflation. Now, you're seeing this asset price inflation go down. And, the situation that has been created by the too bigs to fail, they kind of painted themselves in a corner because where are they invested in these large equities and assets, right? So what's going on with that? I mean, in other words, it's starting to collapse. Their investments are starting to collapse. Now, typically what happened in the past was that the commodities collapsed first, then the equities got the big whammy. Now, it remains to be seen how much the Fed can freaking fix things, but, the major media is saying the Fed failed and stuff, and I'm thinking, I don't think they failed. It's just like the markets are reflecting reality. I mean, the markets stink, like old girl's holding her nose here, The markets are bad. I mean, the markets are bad because the economy stinks. The retail sector is bad, and I know I can't trust a lot of the numbers because the last time the numbers were looking good in the jobs report because of one bright area, the fracking industry, the oil industry, which was going hot and heavy. And depends on where it was, some of those places could not invest unless the oil price was going to be at least $80 a barrel. Now it's the lowest it's been. Actually, this is the worst crash in oil relative to price that we probably ever had. I've been looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, the situation also in the Middle East has actually gotten far more tense, and almost all the supply is coming out of Saudi. I mean, not all of it, but I mean, relatively speaking, is coming out of Saudi now. And, one big freaking problem in the Middle East, oil could just go astronomically high. And you know what's going to happen then? You're going to have to do a lot of ride sharing like these people on the motorcycles, right? There's going to be a lot of this. You're going to be seeing a lot of motorcycles equipped with sidecars and multiple people in them because the price of gas, it's almost, let me say this because I know when you're invested in silver, you're going to be worried about survivability and stuff. This is definitely not the time to put down payment on that big gas guzzler. I can tell you that right now. Probably some people have, with the 2015 record car sales. Probably some, SUVs or something, four-wheel drive and all that other stuff. When the price goes up this time, it's going to probably, because you notice as oil goes down, the crude oil product goes down. I know that's not the entire, percentage. It's not the whole facet of why gasoline prices at the pump are at a certain price, but it still is a major facet of it. Crude oil prices go down significantly, and you don't really see oil prices drop to where they should be. In other words, and even though that's a major, gasoline prices drop to where they should be. But when crude oil goes up, gasoline prices go up even more as a percentage. And why is that? Well, I could just tell you, I think they're just a damn bunch of crooks. Because actually, oil was over $100 a barrel. Now it's like in the low 30s. It should be, if gasoline should be like below $1.50 a gallon, and you don't see that. That's what I would expect. But I think the next time there's a major conflict in the Middle East, and I think this is coming up, you might see gasoline $8 to $10 a gallon. That's when your silver is going to be high. So, and what will happen then? There's going to be a lot of. Don't worry, be happy. It's probably more. It's probably like a gazillion milligrams of Prozac, but whatever that is. But there's going to be some serious problems out there, and a lot of people are going to be seriously stressed if they're not prepared, not just with silver, but also with food. I also want to talk a little bit about China. I know China's been having some major problems, and they expect the Chinese economy to actually tumble, fall, fail, and have major catastrophic problems this year because their export market is dried up because their export market is Europe and the United States mainly, right? Well, I want to say this, though. When there is a major implosion, say, in the Chinese economy, it's going to be far less affecting the Chinese people than if there was a major implosion in the American economy. Because the Chinese people, by and large, are not like, going to, the Walmart store for food, and, down south it's the Winn-Dixie, up north it's the Pathmark. They actually, a lot of people grow their own food. And people up in the United States don't. And where you're going to have a lot of inflation is going to be in food. So, the numbers don't really reflect exactly what's going on in the daily lives of the Chinese people. So if they say, oh, China crashed and all this stuff happened and everything, well, yeah, maybe, yeah, fine. It's going to be maybe in the business sector, the industrial sector, or whatever. But if that happens here in the United States, there's going to be starvation because the social services are not going to be able to provide. And I think there's going to be such rapid full food inflation that even if people get money, that money is not going to go that far on food. So maybe they're going to turn to drugs. I don't know. Now, I also want to state something else here. Something else is coming up, and this is not conspiratorial. This is something I've been thinking about for probably a couple decades. If you're not aware of this, now I know I'm Catholic, but I wasn't really taught this in school so much. I don't know why. Maybe because they're kind of politically correct or something, or they teach it, but they don't teach it. They don't get into the details unless you really get into some of the more some of the priests that kind of rebel against the the Pope, who's kind of a false Pope. Now I'm kind of going off on something here in a tangent, but it's related to a lot of this doom and gloom that everybody is into. But I think this is a reality situation because what we really have is a spiritual crisis. It's not like probably the best thing you can do if you really want to be independent is get your house like this on a lake where there's fish and, you got a nice steep roof in case there's a lot of snow load or whatever. And the hell with the bullshit. Anybody living in the cities, when the stuff does collapse, they're going to be screwed. I'm going to say that right now. Like in China, the major media over here is going to pump up all the problems in China. And then maybe these numbers are right about China having a lot of problems. Yeah, fine. But the average Chinese person is probably not going to be affected that much because they grow their own food, they do their own thing. And there's a whole, little economy out there where people don't fill out forms and they don't have credit cards and they aren't paying bills online that, the government can't measure. You see? So, some people are going to be saying, well, look, China has it worse. I would doubt it because, China's got a lot of agrarian society still going on there, and a lot of economy that's not electronically based. So that's going to be something else. And that is something where I've been kind of emphasizing also on the Silver Channel here, is to do things on your own, not just, depend upon silver the price to go way up, which I still think it will. I think what's going to happen is, you heard this before, the too bigs to fail are going to fail. They're going to screw up. Because, the problem is with these guys, they're habitual liars. That's the thing. They're always, BSing to get on to the next step. I know I'm aware of this because I work with these guys a lot. And that's really, that's why I recognize what Trump's about. You get mad at me for that shit, but he's been a diehard New York City liberal for most of his life. Now all of a sudden he's a super conservative right-wing guy. Anyway, you're mad at me for that, but maybe some people do or some people don't, but that's a fact. We're getting snowed, but, I look at it like this, the United States, I think, is actually being brought down on purpose, for the New World Government, New World Order. Now, I want to get back to that thing I talked about with Fatima real quick. What's coming up, though, is on October 13th, 2017, is going to be the 100-year anniversary of Fatima, where, 1917, October 13th, Mary did the miracle of the sun. I don't know, you can look that up. They got YouTube videos on it and stuff. I think I put some stuff out on that too. But she talked about the great chastisement of mankind. That was about World War II. And she talked about another bigger chastisement and a warning about what could possibly happen if, because he says there's going to be a big battle between, evil forces and good forces, and you can see this going on, Now, I'm not a person that is, really strict religious and stuff, because I realize, what's the thing they have with the gay and lesbian thing and all that stuff? There could be some people in their DNA that are a certain way, but, right now they're trying to push that through society, as a normal thing, and it's not a normal thing with most people, right? That's something I see as moral decay. And the only people I think that are really going to survive beyond just, holding silver is one of it, is the people that stay with the true way things are. Families. People that deviate from that too far, or maybe, maybe not everybody has a family, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be, deviating from it. But people who deviate from these, ideals of what he thinks should be, and push, a lot of the alternative, anti-cultural societal changes that, the ultra-liberals are part, they're not liberals, the ultra-fascists, I would call them, are pushing, they're going to all go up in smoke. Because I think the message of Fatima is rock solid. It's going to happen with a great destruction, a great chastisement, and it's coming down on us. So, we got a lot of multiple things coming up besides, if you have silver coinage, that's a good thing to have, yes, but that's not the only thing you got to be ready with. You got to be ready also morally. You also have to be ready with having food and health. That's a very important aspects too. And I always talked about, how the elite basically trap themselves. What they are pathological liars, basically. That's what they are. They seem to get through something and they talk a certain way, but you got to watch their actions, what they actually do. I'll state flat out, like Warren Buffett and George Soros, I think, are just flat out pathological liars. Not that you would not doubt that too much, but the thing is, they pull a lot of crap to get where they are, and everybody, and this is another thing I always got, I'm going on a tangent here a little bit, but, a lot of people looking at Donald Trump like he's going to save our ass. I'm thinking, if we got to elect a leader to save our ass, we're screwed, because we got a system government that limits the powers of government, and we got to look at the Congress more. But we have to get to the mindset where we have to elect one leader to save our ass. We're already like trying to elect a dictator to save us, and we're throwing out our whole system. Now, the other side of it is, I could tell you anybody that's got the money, even a fraction of the money of Donald Trump, is a scumbag. I'm kind of going off on this in this tangent here, but I'm telling you why this is. It's just like this. You don't even find this in the animal kingdom. You know, squirrels gather acorns in the wintertime, like we're looking at the wintertime here. And do they gather 10 billion acorns and let like one squirrel gathers 10 billion acorns and says, I'm the richest squirrel in town, and all the other squirrels get like 3 acorns for the winter to survive the winter and to say to hell with them because I got 10 billion acorns? No, squirrels don't do that. That's actually any animal practically in the animal world is more just to their fellow animals than humans. The only time you see animals fighting, it's over an individual issue versus like, I'm going to, screw everybody over and so I can have everything. Only humans do that, and you know which humans do that the most? Billionaires. Beware of that moral axiom I'm giving you because, anybody that's got a lot of money like that and says they're going to save your ass is probably he is a pathological liar, probably working for the Clintons. So I'm going to leave you with that. I had to throw that in here, but, it's unrelated to this, but it's something I know it's of concern to people who are investing in silver, like what's the future of the nation and all this type of stuff. But as far as what's going to happen, just remember, stick in with the values of your own little world first. Do not worry about, things that are beyond what you can change. You can change your own little world. And, I always like something that JFK used to say all the time. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be, Mr. Obama, I want to be an environmentalist. But you know what I'm saying. You have to actually be a true patriot and think about your fellow Americans beyond just yourself and think about what our country is about. And we will all survive because I think the element, well, not everybody, but I think we will all survive that are of the right mindset. There's been many instances, actually, whereby there's been many miracles that have occurred and, it surprises people, how this can happen. Like, a car could be on fire and everything burns up in the car and, the only thing left is the Bible. Or, a house is on fire and the only thing left is the Bible and the Bible's totally intact. And, they say, people will come and go and, empires will come and go and great edifices will come and go, but my word will survive. So stick with the truth more than anything. See, one of the things where people actually shoot themselves in the foot even when they invest is this greed, the greed factor. And the greed factor plays on the psychological factor. So they get euphoria too much when it goes up and they hold at any cost. And they're like, when it's down, they're afraid to invest. They're like, I can't touch this stuff. They have an opposite mentality of what they should really be doing. But then on the opposite side, silver is not your only investment. Say silver right now is rock bottom. It could be. It could be. Or it's probably damn near it now. I would expect, because I'm seeing the markets turn over right now to general equities, and you're seeing copper, the industrial metals like copper, palladium, and platinum are getting slammed. The equities are turning over. The general equities are turning over. But the prelude to the general equities really crashing is the industrials, metals, and oil crashing. And oil's been at a low that's beyond belief. It's beyond. It's like I think it's a 14-year low or something like that. But percentage-wise, it's dropped like bigger crash than expected, even by J.P. Morgan and myself too. I didn't think it would crash this low. But then on the inverse side of it, whoever comes in office, if we had Herbert Walker Bush in there right now, there'd be a major conflict in the Middle East. Right now. Oh, I'm going to talk about something else here too. I should probably I'm not going to put out a separate video on it. If you pay attention to everything in these videos that are pretty long, I actually do drop a few gems. The Affordable Health Care Act, actually, if you're a Muslim, you have a religious exemption. I try to research that as best I could, and it does look legit. And I said to myself, wow, you know what they're trying to do there is trying to get converts. That was something Obama put in there. In other words, it's almost like the Amish are exempt, which you can see why the Amish are exempt, because, why their religion is like that. And some Christian groups are trying to argue that legally that, Christians should be exempt for religious beliefs, which would totally destroy the law, to be the end of the damn thing. But that act actually is part of total control. And, that's one of the things I also see the beauty of silver is because it's outside that loop that they control. And it's not something electronic. I'm not a fan of electronic, tell you the truth. Even like Bitcoin, I'm not a fan of that because I'm just not a fan of anything electronic. It's just something that when people are invested electronically, there's always something that can happen that's out of your control. I'm more, hands-on. But I realize that, the situation in the United States may totally, I hate to say this, it may totally collapse. There's nothing that's really holding up this economy except lies on paper. And I'm quite familiar with that type of stuff, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of lies on paper. There's a lot of economic reports saying this, and the jobs report is this, and the GDP is this, and the wage growth is this, and all this kind of no. It's not true. And another indication that there's a lot of failure going on in our domestic USA economy is the number of goods being shipped by rail is way down, and also the conductors, the railroad conductors, are being laid off in large numbers. So, when they try to stimulate the economy per se, they just stimulate it to boost, the too bigs to fail, which is the asset inflation prices in the equities. But thing is, where is this money coming from to boost them? From debt? That's what I'm saying. The shit is going to, when the people are on the top and they think they got everything figured out, they fail. Like, I think the Bush family is going to be one that's going to be on the way out the door. The Clinton family is going to be another one on the way out the door. Even if Hillary Clinton wins this election, she's going to have so much pressure with her health. It's don't even worry about it, even if that happens that way. Don't even worry about it, because she's going to get what she deserves. So, I kind of jumped around a little bit on this update, but I wanted to give you kind of an overall of what's going on with things. And I do expect that oil prices could skyrocket, not due to demand, but if there's one thing that ignites the Middle East in a nuclear war, for instance, which is getting to be very possible, we do not have the capacity that we used to have. Obama killed the coal industry. Natural gas industry is hurting. We got a lot of resources here, but all these companies are hurting so bad. They've been closing down oil rigs, oil wells left and right. We don't have the capacity to spring back. But you know what? I think why this is going to, the prices are going to go skyrocket, because Congress has passed where they can export oil. Not just like in certain markets, like they used to always be able to export some oil products like jet fuel and things like that, but now they can export crude oil. And I think that as these big companies have collapsed and a lot of these problems are happening in the shale oil industry, Wall Street's moved in. And as you know, also besides Wall Street moving into the oil industry, getting into that, they have a large, J.P. Morgan has the largest position in silver they've ever had. It's all going to go up together. But I also do think that this may lead to World War III and a great chastisement. And don't think that humans on the top that are elitists with big fat egos, and they do have intelligence and they're pathological liars, that they won't get burned to cinders in a great chastisement. And I think they will. I think they will. So, one of the biggest enemies that you could possibly have is greed, although I think you're going to do very well. It's just that when you do very well, make sure you change, when silver does go up, make sure you change your silver not into things that are superfluous and fluff and glitter, but into hard capital assets that can last you a long time and will produce for you for a long time, whatever that is. Like, for instance, if you're a machinist, maybe you want to get other types of CNC lathe equipment or something like that. Or if you're a tradesman as a roofer or something, maybe you want to get a different truck that uses diesel or something to transports their ladders and your equipment and your air compressor to do your roofing jobs or whatever, that type of stuff. If you take that money for silver and you buy like a bunch of fancy garbage to show you're wealthy, you will lose that money very quickly. So I guess I will leave you with that final thought. Greed and showboating is one of the biggest pitfalls of anybody, period. You even notice, like Warren Buffett, somebody I don't really like, what does he do? He lives in a modest house compared to his wealth. That's a very important aspect of people that have money. They do not blow it, they do not show it, and they do not tell people exactly what they have.